Aye. Enes Kanter, the Turkish-American basketball player and transphobe, currently in the middle of a controversy around his disturbance at a WNBA game, had an extremely forgettable career. No one outside of Turkey will ever call him their favorite player. His number will never be retired by any pro team. No one will ever speak of him again after this WNBA draft stunt comes and goes. And I genuinely don't care if I'm mispronouncing his name throughout this video. Enes sounds correct to me. He styles himself as a human rights activist. And along with mediocre ex-players like Royce White, who filed complaints, Enes filed paperwork and announced for the 2027 WNBA draft to make a point about the dangers posed by trans women playing in the league.
It's official. I just declared for the 2027 WNBA draft in April. Join me in this journey.
Enes Kanter Freedom decided he's going to throw his hat into the WNBA.
The WNBA does not ban men who identify as women right now from playing in the league.
He would dominate the WNBA without batting an eyelash.
The number one prospect in the history of the WNBA.
Who's Royce White? A black Republican who won the nomination for Senate in Minnesota back in 2024 and is putting his hat in the ring for 2028's presidential election. Enes will probably be doing that too. He claims he's spoken to 8 other former players from Europe, the G League, and the NBA who are going to follow suit. All of this is to force the WNBA to change their rules for eligibility, according to Enes, since the current rules are basically based on self-identification.
Listen, Section 13, right? Article 13, Section 1 says if you identify as a woman, then you're allowed to play.
So you are identifying as a woman tonight?
I identify as a woman, sure, yes.
Okay.
So I can play. If they ever come out and say, okay, we are changing the rules, I respect their decision. I will, follow the rules. But right now, if you identify as a woman, you're allowed to play. And I am identifying as a woman, and I should be allowed to play. That's it.
There's a problem though. That's not what Article 13, Section 1 even says. It says only players who are women are eligible to play in the WNBA. He can't even get the rule right. This entire bullshit, weak-ass, insecure defense tour started based on a lie. When you take the stress of enduring these stunts, the fight he picked with a woman at her job, the gender-based insults players have had to endure, and the dildos men have been throwing on the court into account, these deeply insecure men are proving that the real danger to women in the world is and has always been cis hetero males. Also, the league officially declared them ineligible this week. By the way,
his sources were telling various media outlets today that they've essentially decided you and Royce cannot play in the WNBA. You will not be eligible. And they're going to say something about the it's a publicity stunt. You're not really a trans woman. Are you a trans woman?
Well, I want to make this very clear.
Are you a trans woman?
thank you to everybody who's been buying merch, by the way. Y'all have been extremely gracious with your support of the new drop. And these shirts, they reflect everything I talk about. That shady scammer figure in the background of this design, that represents the people like Royce and Enes Kanter, trying to distract black women from what they actually need to be focused on. We got other collections like Cite Your Sources and the A line of t-shirts with an incredibly intricate buy now design, I guess that's what I'm calling it, on the back, and the smiley face with the dollar signs that I came up with alongside Eric Montague, who designed and put together the graphic design package for all of this stuff. All right, back to these lame motherfuckers. This whole thing started after Sophie Cunningham said trans women shouldn't be allowed in the WNBA. She also said she, quote, wants to protect young girls in a locker room, end quote, which is a transphobic dog whistle every time. What are you protecting them from, Sophie? So far, in all human history, the only actual threats to women and young girls have been cis hetero men at any kind of scale. It's literally always cis hetero men. Enes's antics were a response to all the controversy surrounding Sophie after those comments. I should also mention here that Sophie blew up for being a tough player who says transphobic shit. She claims she loves the trans community, so I'm focusing on that one statement. Getting all kind of brand deals and followers. We see that time and time again, too. Conservatives love funding the lifestyle of anyone who even seems to be on their side. Just so you know I'm not piling on her unnecessarily, she shared that she doesn't listen to rap before games, only country music. Only problem was that nobody asked her. Let's be clear about something out the gate. The extremely ironically named Enes is transphobic. He went through the necessary steps to file for entry into the WNBA draft as a political stunt against trans people. I know their battle as intimately as a cis hetero man could, since I've been to trans rights rallies within the past year. I've interviewed people on both sides of the fight and was stunned at the vitriol coming from the anti-trans people. They look like everyone around you. The demographics were mostly white, but many minorities and many more women showed up to make sure a literal handful of trans athletes scattered across the country couldn't play sports. Well, now they look like a 6'10" role player who desperately wants attention. Same discriminatory sentiments, different packaging. Royce White wore a wig on national television, an act that adds on to Enes's trolling and physical threats to drive this point home. None of this was ever about women's safety or the integrity of their league. It was always about men imposing themselves on women without regard to disrupting their lives, harassing them at their jobs, adding to the toxic atmosphere men have been bringing to their arenas, and reviving their dead careers by any means necessary. First, there's this shirt. It defines woman as an adult human female. I'd say female human, female is an adjective, but it's put in that order so the shirt can highlight the word female. Obviously, the underlying message is that he's doing what he's doing to defend the sanctity of womanhood or some shit. He's a liar. The WNBA has operated for 30 years without men attempting to enter their draft. So what threat is he addressing? Why didn't he call for a meeting with WNBA or NBA leadership to discuss these concerns? Here's how he defended calling for these other players to join him. Quote, hear me out. The NBA G League pays players $45,000 a year, while the WNBA top players earn $1.4 million a year. Those men could earn an extra $1.355 million a year by just identifying as women. Rules are rules. This is a childish and inaccurate claim that hides danger to trans people just below the surface. What he's implying is that trans athletes are simply waking up one day and deciding they want to change their gender identity in order to earn more money or get benefits from society. There's no evidence to prove this assertion, and it comes directly from the transphobic Christian ideology insisting that any variation in gender identity is purely a choice to engage in sin, and that any queer person has nefarious motives. The most ironic part of it is that the actual reason most queer people stay closeted about their identity is the amount of hate generated by fucking losers like this. It also assumes that any one of these men who just changed their gender, quote unquote, to join the league would automatically get paid as much as the top players in the WNBA. Those players are getting paid not only based on their skill, but their marketability as brand ambassadors. Let's address and break down the public discourse around Enes's actions. Some people are playing dumb, or actually just being themselves, I guess, by claiming people are overreacting to him, quote, simply trying to keep the WNBA for women only. If that was his goal, he wouldn't have signed up for the draft and started shit at a game. I already suggested an alternative approach. Underneath these so-called innocent questions is another scary ass fact about men in patriarchal societies. They think violence and harassment are fair game, as long as the person committing those acts is on their side of the debate. Signing up for the draft in the first place is disrespectful, disruptive, and psychologically violent due to the wave of conservative hate he knew would follow that action. Attending the games and trolling on social media is violent for the same reason, except the game piece is literally just harassing women at their office. Is that what protection looks like to you emotionally irregulated motherfuckers? Is that how you protect your girlfriends and wives, provided you have one? What if another man protected them like that? I shouldn't even need to use that example because women are people like we are. Would you like that shit? Who made you like this? Why are you like this? This is why nobody likes you and why you'll die alone. Allow me to bring in some evidence to make this point more emphatically. Retired NBA player Kenyon Martin weighed in on Enes's game stunt. And here's what he had to say.
Enes Kanter. Initially, people was rocking with the point that you were trying to make, and forcing the WNBA into make certain decisions. And that's their right and their business. But I think you made your point then. Harassing them at the game, you know it's a sensitive topic for them. Like, it was a little much, my brother. It was a little much, and uncalled for. And you are a voice now of certain things, and people tend to pay attention now because of the stink that you made initially declaring for the WNBA draft, which you're right, but let's not make a mockery of the WNBA, man. Let's not make a mockery of the trans community. Those are people, man. They have family, they have lives, they have loved ones, and they deserve your utmost respect, man. You can do what you're doing and say what you're saying from afar. Let them be. They are doing their job. They're not bothering you. So let's find someone else to bother, man. Leave them alone.
So let me get this straight. Filing for the draft and clowning the league on social media was perfectly okay. It was just him making his point. He crossed the line when he actually attended the game, according to you. The ridicule, embarrassment, and insecure posturing that happened before that, it's just part of the game. Just him making a point effectively. I call bullshit. If you really want to champion women, talk to women, meet with their leadership, and defer to their judgment. Point out the loophole in the official rules and allow them to deliberate. This half-ass call-out came from a dude with a son in the NBA who sat on podcasts for years speaking his mind on things like this for an audience mostly made of young men, by the way.
Yeah, he kept saying you want to make a joke. Ain't shit funny right now, nigga.
Keep talking about Pop.
Ain't shit funny.
Pop.
Nigga.
Shit. Let me show
Everything
you.
ain't nobody want to see that dumbass shit you showing, nigga.
As Enes walked out the game, the WNBA supporters and several women cursed him out. He earned that and seemed to be enjoying the attention.
Bitch ass nigga. Bitch ass out of Chicago. I'm not touching him. I'm just saying, fuck you.
This is the face of someone who sees all of this as a joke, including the diminished safety and security of every player in that arena. A clown who played in front of huge crowds for years, made millions presumably, and still feels the need to be the center of attention after retirement by putting down everyone else. I'm going to end this video with Royce White because he doesn't require as much time to dissect. He had no NBA career. He played 3 minutes per season for 2 seasons and scored the same amount of points as I have in the NBA, but he went on to become a star in the NBL in Canada, leading to 2 championships and an MVP award. Not the NBA, but you think that was enough accomplishments for your ego to be satiated? Nah. These days, he's known more as a failed Republican than as an athlete. And he pulled this stunt in an interview, wearing a wig while saying his pronouns are pay me.
I'm transgender. I'm a woman. I identify as sometimes identifying as a woman for purposes of basketball, professional basketball. So I'll be declaring for the WNBA draft in 2027 as well.
If that doesn't make my point about the mockery intended within all this shit, I don't know what will. Transgender people aren't turning their gender identity on and off like a light switch to get benefits or deceive people. There's a scientific basis and ongoing study around what leads to people expressing their gender in this way. I'll put the American Psychological Association's official statement on transgender, gender identity, and gender expression, non-discrimination in the description. They let this be known years ago. Quote, therefore be it further resolved that APA recognizes the efficacy, benefit, and medical necessity of gender transition treatments for appropriately evaluated individuals and calls upon public and private insurers to cover these medically necessary treatments, end quote. That's just one citation. I got a list. I'm going to be doing a whole video with a trans creator about this topic. Y'all feel free to suggest who I should partner with for that one. Considering how much vitriol and violence they face, It's not even rational to position it as if they're seeking some social elevation or clout. Trans people are literally being killed and jailed for life out here. You sound stupid, Royce. You, the man watching this, fixing his fingers to argue with me. You also sound stupid. Enes Kanter is a loser. Royce White is a loser. And you're a loser too, if you co-sign even one piece of this clown show. Protection starts and ends with respect. Y'all stay healthy. I can't afford to talk about things that matter without support from you and my sponsors. So shout out to Monarch for bridging the gap. This time, I want to talk about recurring charges. They help me track them, tag them as recurring or not recurring, and take action if I don't know where the hell they came from. I opened this window and immediately saw AT&T, which makes sense since that's my internet. It's a job expense, so we're all good. I hit this spot called Mr. Car Wash one time. I don't think I'll be going back since that's way out of the way. Simply Business is an insurance plan I got after getting lawsuit threats a few months back. And honestly don't think I need it anymore since it never happened. Not recurring since I'm about to cancel it. Even outside of this list, the page itself shows you a full breakdown of every recurring charge so you can get to it at a glance. It's affordable peace of mind. Monarch does a lot more than this. To try for yourself and get half off your first year, use code CAMJAMES50, which is on screen, scan the QR code or hit the link in the description.